And okay, so this is wrong for now, but that's right. And we'll just suck up to south.
Right. Right, yeah, yeah. Sure. Yeah. Anybody great? And nobody else needs to Yes.
And if they have a question,
No, I know it's like white, like glasses.
You want to see that here? Let's put it on this second row right here. I wonder whether I can hear anyway, so, but I'd like to sit with you. That's an idea. You mind if we
Alex is here.
Yeah, but my head won't
Oh,
cooperate.
oh, okay. Well, he'll be here after it if you
Yeah,
want. But it's very, I know we can let you look at the insurance.
Yeah.
You have with you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. She's really awesome. Give me your You get it, they go back by the back of the room. And then I'll take my cane back. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, no.
Okay. It'll pick up, your voice will be picked up over there.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I could have brought my.
I'll be monitoring this.
So you'll be able to come back.
Well, they'll.
They get this little dollar bill on there.
I know. Want to know something interesting about the dollar bills?
No. Yes, I do want to know.
They have a letter.
Scroll.
It likes my.
Yes, it does.
All right. All right, I'll try. I was just commenting on the dollar. It's gonna be your bedtime reading. Here, right? Oh, yeah.
Thank you, but
We had a conversation. That never. We had a conversation. Thanks, I appreciate hearing that. Yeah. Yeah, it is true. Just me, I guess. I was gonna say, some of the chairs have arms like mine do, and some have better cushioning.
So this is, okay, good afternoon. I think I'm gonna try and start while everyone settles in. I am Jackie Beebe. I'm the town manager for the town of Eastham. And I put together a little topical agenda. And what I guess I want to know is, we have a lot of, I mean, I can talk about this stuff forever, right? I want to make sure that I answer questions that people have, specific questions. I want to make sure that I'm talking about things that are of interest to you and not just randomly talking. And so I put this together and I was hoping that you might be able to sort of, in some democratic way, let me know what on these lists you want to prioritize so that I can kind of, and then I promise I'll come back. If we don't have, like, I don't have anything after this, if people want to ask questions or talk, I can do that, but I can also come back at another time if we have too many things. So do we start with the warrant? Start with the warrant and then we can see where we go from there. Okay, so I hate to be judgmental, but I think honestly, this is like the most boring warrant we've had since I've been here in 10 years. So there's really not a lot that is exciting on the warrant, but there are a few things that I think might be new or people might not know as well as some other things. So in the beginning of the warrant, you're gonna all receive this in the mail very shortly, I think next week. But in the beginning of the warrant, there's a letter from the select board, which kind of goes through the things that they think are important. A letter from the finance committee that goes through what they think is important. And like, we don't have a strategic plan. And so as we go through the warrant, everything has the actual warrant article. I'm gonna use the fancy screen now. This is pretty fun. Okay, first thing, we're back to Monday nights at the high school in the auditorium, the brand new auditorium, which seats about 750 people. And we have an earlier start time at 5:30. So just so you know, those things. We do have childcare. I'm trying to figure out if we should have food or not, because they don't want us to bring food into the new auditorium, I'm sure. So hold on, I gotta scroll. Yeah. So there's gonna be two ballot questions. one of them goes towards a warrant article, so I will talk about that when we get to that warrant article. One of them is just a non-binding advisory question that people petitioned. Oh, shoot, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. Now it's getting bigger and bigger. Maybe this way would be better. No?
Here, I'll help you.
There we go. I gotta just make it smaller again.
Yeah, you can just make it smaller, it's like this.
Let's try it. Now I don't even know.
Oh, wait.
I was at 500%.
Yeah, see, that's healthy.
Okay, this, we have to go back. I think I have to go back.
So you can just go, this moves that, and that's this. I'll tell you what.
As long as I don't make it bigger.
Okay, you gotta go back to,
Article 2.
on that page.
Yeah, no. All the way down.
Here he comes to the rescue.
Well, that
There
might
we
be
go.
easier.
That might be easier.
Okay, so I go up or down?
Board meeting, robot.
That,
Look at that.
nice. All right, it
Brought it
really
to
liked
Reno
my.
High School right here.
Now, I can't see if I can't read with my glasses and I can't see without them, so I'm sure you can. Yeah, sympathize. Investments, who's gonna say no to that? No, I think we should do improved investment.
Amy.
Okay, here we go. Hold on, just a couple more and then I promise. All right, here we go. There's the budget. So Article 2, it used to be Article 12, but now it's Article 2, is our operating and capital budget. But basically, it shows you first the operating budget in its entirety, and it goes through all these categories. So what happens at town meeting is the moderator will just generally ask, does anyone have any questions on page 1 of the, and you can say, yes, I want to talk about the town clerk and elections, that line. And he'll just put a hold on it and then we go back and talk about it, right? But I'm just gonna cut to the chase because this is the best news I've been able to deliver in a long time. I've been in Eastham, this is my 11th year. This is the best budget that we have ever moved to town meeting. It is balanced without an override, of course. It is, it basically represents a 2% increase in taxes this year. And I know that that is really pivotal because the last 3 years have been very rough, especially last year. So we've had 3 years of really hard tax burden years. And so this one is gonna be, it's gonna feel like a relief. So basically, we start with a level services budget. So every year, we don't say we need to keep the budget to a certain amount. We say to our department heads, we want to keep the same services that we have. Everyone wants these services. So what will that cost? And then we back out of it from there. That's where you get, that's where we ask you for some overrides. If it's extra policemen or something extra, if it's anything extra, we come to town meeting and we ask you for it. If it's a new position, if it's an extra position, if it's over the budget amount, the levy limit that we're allowed, which is 2.5% of the total real estate. So I don't know if any of you have any specific questions on the budget. It would be hard to at this point because you haven't really had a chance to think about it, but know that it's a really good budget. We're very proud to be presenting it. Rich, my assistant town administrator, who is also our finance director, is a wizard, and we're really, really happy to be presenting it. The capital improvement plan comes next. And we have two capital improvement plans. Basically, our charter in Eastham says, oops, I went past it, didn't I? So basically, our charter says that the capital budget that you vote on every year is for 1 year. And then there's a separate article that is the future year, so it's the 5-year projection. You're not voting on anything in specific in that 5-year projection in terms of money. It doesn't affect your taxes this year. It's sort of our shot over the bow to let you know what is projected for the 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year, so that you can see, oh, you know, wastewater might be coming on the tax levy this year or whatever. So you can start to plan for those big capital expenses. So what we ask you to vote for is firstly, the capital plan for this year, which is, again, it's balanced. It uses receipts that we get from fire for ambulance receipts. It uses some other revenues. It uses free cash, which is a silly word because it's not free. It is money that's left over from the budget of the previous year that's certified by the state as available. So the appropriation was made, the money is available to reallocate. We can't just spend it. We have to present it as a part of the operating budget, the capital budget, or whatever else we want to use free cash for. And in Eastham, traditionally, free cash funds our capital budget. We only have $400,000 a year in the annual operating budget for capital. So we rely on free cash. We rely on that to help us with our capital expenses so that we don't have to do overrides. So Article 3 is the plan for this year, and then it goes into the sideways article, which is the plan for the next few years.
What page are you already on that plan?
23. Yeah, I'm all the way to 23. 23 is the Article 3B, the capital budget. And then we move to the other financial items. So this is Article 4 on page 25.
Can you go back to Article 3B, the capital, where it says page 22?
Yeah. Yes,
That says 2,400,000.
yes.
So where did that, I just didn't, where is that coming from?
So $1,950,000 comes from free cash, 40,000 from ambulance receipts, 12,500 from the cable fund, and 397,500 is in the operating budget as levy.
So we have that much free cash.
We have that much free cash.
Okay, thank you.
And that has to balance. We wouldn't put an unbalanced number in these. Okay. So there it is, Cheryl. It's just on the next page in the warrant.
And this is things that will be, that is targeted for the new fiscal year
That's right. So beginning July 1st.
through. Okay.
So Article 4 is all the other appropriations that we're using free cash for basically this year. So we're transferring $100,000 to the stabilization fund. We're transferring $100,000 to the other post-employment benefit trust fund, which is basically paying the difference, the actuarial table difference between what we're putting in annually in employee benefits and what we're gonna be charged 30 years from now in employee benefits. So that amount is updated every year, and then we put some cash away for it. The transfer to injured on duty fund, that's a fund we have specifically for fire and police. If we have to backfill with overtime, we have a fund that if someone's out for an extended period of time and we know we're gonna need to pay that, we keep some cash aside for that. Compensated absence, very similar, transfer to wastewater stabilization fund. And this is, I don't know whether it's controversial, but the select board made a decision when the short-term rental tax went into existence, which was, I think, 2019 was our first year, that money would be set aside for wastewater, for funding the debt service on wastewater, the operations cost on wastewater, whatever we needed. And so we have been putting aside money every year for that in a stabilization fund. And so we don't spend it, it goes into the stabilization fund. Some IT development applications, we're moving towards payment online with a few departments that we haven't before. Stickers are going online.
Yeah.
I know, yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? The wastewater development programs, that $75,000 is just for some pond updates, pond improvements, pond testing. Fund housing programs, that's $250,000 that is gonna pay for 2 new programs that we are starting this year as pilots. One is called the Lease to Locals program. And it's basically if you have a house that you rent year-round to a year-round resident, then we will give you a subsidy for that to help pay your taxes. So we're hoping Provincetown has created over 40 units of housing this way. So we're hoping that, we'll get a good turnout. It went out to RFP. We should be available to rent things this September if this passes. So basically, it's a 1-year shot at it. We're gonna see how it goes and then look for ways to fund it in the future if it works really well. And of course, part of that is because it's so difficult to build anything right now, or renovate anything, or design anything.
Is that retrospective? If you've been renting a property you own?
It is
for
not.
years? Okay.
I'm sorry, it is not. And we had long discussions about that too. Grant matching funds, we have a fund just in case we can take advantage of a grant and it has a matching amount. We put $25,000 a year aside for that. Transfer to the Resident Taxpayer Assistance Fund. This is our new community fund. So the select board 3 years ago decided that we wanted to try and provide a form of tax relief that wasn't available to us under Massachusetts state law. So we had to create special legislation to allow us to create a fund specifically to help people pay taxes. The select board developed regulations for that fund. It's short term, it's 2 years maximum. It's for hardship, income issues, and you might remember more, but there's a few different regulations for it. But basically, this is our first money that we're putting aside into that fund, so it doesn't have any money in it. It has $2,500, I think, that APERTA, Part-Time Resident Taxpayers Association, gave us last year, and that's it. So this will add to that. And then the one, I think probably the most controversial, the one-time addition to the overlay for the RTE implementation, so the residential tax exemption. If and when the board votes to do that, the first year, if we don't get 100% of our residents applying for it, we still have to refund that tax amount. So we have to have a bit of cash on hand in that overlay account so that if you don't apply and then you get your tax bill and you say, oh my God, I'm a resident, I really should be getting an exemption, and you apply later, we can give you that money back.
Can you speak a little bit more about what this real estate fund is?
Which one,
The one,
Community fund?
The tax one you were just talking about.
The tax exemption, or tax deduction.
Yeah, the tax exemption.
the residential tax exemption, okay. So, each year in August, and, you know, David probably speaks to this better than I can, but every year in August or early September, we set the tax rate. And before we can set the tax rate, we have to have all our finances certified by the state. And the select board has to make a decision on how those taxes will be spread across the tax base. So some towns, like if you're from Weymouth and you have 40% of your tax base as commercial, you might want to move more of the burden to the commercial businesses than to the residents. That's one choice. One of the choices that, and Eastham has traditionally always just made the tax rate the same over all the classes of property. One of the choices that the state of Massachusetts gives us is the ability to vote to move the burden from one residential class to another. And the category that they've chosen is year-round residents. So if you own a home and you live in it year-round, then you get an exemption off of your valuation. So if your house is valued at $500,000, if the exemption is $100,000, your taxes would be based on $400,000 value rather than $500,000 value, if you're a year-round resident. If you're legally a non-resident, and I don't want to offend any part-time residents, but we only have two legal terms in Massachusetts, and one is resident, meaning you're domiciled to live here year-round. You pay your taxes here, you register your car here, you vote here, or non-resident, and that all happens somewhere else, but you own property here. That 100,000 that's coming off your evaluation goes, the tax rate is split. Oh my God, I'm really not. The tax rate is split so that you're paying one tax rate and non-resident taxpayers are paying another tax rate. So they're gonna pay more in all instances. And in most instances, your tax bill will go down. However, if your house is valued at more than $1.8 million, which is the cutoff this, going into this year, then you would pay a little more than the person with the house, you know, at 500,000, but you would never pay more than a non-resident taxpayer. So it's particularly, it's a hard one because it does set up a distinction between whether you live here year-round and whether you don't. It is a legal option that the state gives us because they understand that cities and seasonal communities have difficulty with housing, that our cost of living for everything, for food, for gas, for everything is higher than it would be if we lived somewhere else. And they're giving us a tool to manage that. Now, our board has resisted using the tool, but this year they have indicated to us that they are thinking that they will vote yes to do a residential exemption, which is why we're trying to get out ahead of it and send you something in the mail that says, we need you to register, because this is the really bad part. My partner said to me, I don't really want to do this, so let's not fill out the paperwork. And I'm like, oh my God, no, because if you don't do it, if you don't claim your exemption, then you're gonna pay the higher rate of taxes. So it is important for you to fill out that paperwork and ask for help if you need it. Assessing has already been very busy. We've had over like 150 residential properties that have come in and already done it. The one issue that we're gonna have, because we have so many of them, is trusts. If your trust is set up in a certain way, it's gonna make it difficult to get the residential exemption, so you may have to, I'm sorry, go back and change your trust documents in order to get it. Over time, that will be worth it. You know, but anyway, that's the one glitch that I think is gonna cause a, But we have a whole year to do it. Remember, that's why we have money in the overlay account to give people time. Beth?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are under the impression that this is something that's going to be on the warrant. Whether that they can vote for the RTE
Okay.
at the town meeting. And I've heard a lot of people express that.
Yeah, no. And I think we've been very clear about this. The select board is an elected board, you elect them. And they actually have very few powers, really. Most of the things that they want to do usually cost money, and so anything that costs money has to go before town meeting, right, for a vote. So we're very restricted in the powers that we have, but the state has given them a couple of things that they are allowed to do, and one of them is decide how the taxes are spread over across those properties, commercial, residential, open space. So they have the right to do it, they have the authority to do it, and they've indicated to us that they're going to do it. So it's not something that, I'm sure it'll be discussed at town meeting, but it's not related to anything. There's nothing that you can do at town meeting that can stop them from voting in August if they want to.
Why?
Why?
Why are they doing this after not doing it for a number of years?
I mean, we've talked about it for 5 years. And I don't know exactly the reason this year. I think they just thought it was time that there was an advocacy group of residents who really wanted it and who came to the public meeting and who really expressed a desire for it. And I think that's the first time we've had that. And I don't know. I honestly don't know. Amy can.
Briefly, since
Thank
I'm
you.
the one who was the switch vote. Really, it has to do with the housing crisis. And, you know, we've seen the data through the years change so much, like we were talking about the lease to locals program to try to get more year-round rentals. That's because in it's less than 10 years, we've lost over 400 year-round rentals in single-family homes. 400. So we're trying to help people that are here with all the things Jackie mentioned. Everything's more expensive here, as you know. You come over the bridge, gas, groceries, utilities, everything's more expensive. So this is a way to help the people that live here. It's not income-based, so everybody's gonna get it. But like Jackie said, even if you feel you don't need it, take it. You can always give that money to the local food pantry, to Lower Cape Outreach, who has programs to help people stay in their homes in other ways and that sort of thing, so.
I think my concern is the potential for divisiveness between one group and the
Yeah,
other.
it's
been discussed in other towns.
And it's not a potential. It definitely is a thing.
Absolutely, no, and it's not fair.
Is there a
I
long-term negative impact?
I mean, Provincetown, Pearl, Wellfleet all have it. Orleans actually has something on their warrant
Yeah.
to do that overlay funding.
The citizens in Orleans are petitioning Orleans to adopt.
So it's, you know, it's coming, and many seasonal communities have it in Massachusetts. Or they have a big rental base, like Boston, City of Boston has it, Cambridge.
So Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard have had it since 1978. So that's,
The first one into effect.
I have a question. Keep brain here. The Provincetown Independent had an article on this.
Yeah.
And they said that the year-round resident gets this, but the residential tax rate goes up.
It does. It goes up for everyone.
but no, it's just,
Well,
you gotta think about the tax rate is different than the bill that you get in the mail. So the tax rate goes up every time your value goes up. Every time our value goes up, the rate goes down, I'm sorry. Every time our value goes up, the rate goes down, and then the reverse is true. So if we take something off your taxes, your tax rate goes up. But the bill will be less money.
but I think she's talking about the exempt resident RTE. In an RTE, the whole rate goes up.
Yes,
Now, the year-round residents get an exemption of value off there, so even though the rate's higher, their value that is taxed will be less with an exemption.
and it depends on what your property is valued. So as your property gets higher in value, the exemption will be less.
So then the person that is not a full-time resident, they're paying at the higher rate without the exemption, so they're paying more.
That's right.
That's why there's that tipping point at 1.8 million, where if you have that higher value home, the exemption is not going to take enough off that your taxes will go down. But they don't go up as much as the non-resident. Because they're all going. Really quick, so, well,
If the rate goes up, I get an exemption of the value of my property, so my tax bill is lower. Does this rate also go up for businesses?
No. The business rate,
it's separate.
the business
Okay, so
rate is
you're
separate.
not
This is
gonna have two-
only on the residential tax.
So you're basically just shifting a part of the residential tax burden to the non-resident taxpayer.
Yes.
A portion of it.
Yes, and that's why they're upset. And,
Right.
you know, I mean, we all get why they're upset.
Right.
But that said, it is what it is. So, Cheryl?
This may feel provocative, I don't know. I just need to say, because I think people might be feeling a little powerless, right? The select board has this authority, but there is an election coming up for the
Yes.
select board, and there's, I think, 2 seats.
Yes,
And we don't know, and then there's an opportunity, you know, if we do an event, we can come and ask the select board question, you know, whoever's running for office.
The 12th, May
So
12th.
it is, what is it?
May 12th.
So it is possible that people running for election may have a different view than this current board. So if you, I'm just trying to power, if you feel strongly about it, come to May 12th, talk to who's running, share your opinions. Because this final vote doesn't happen until August,
September 1st, I think is when it does.
then when does it come into effect?
immediately.
Oh, so our October, November bill is done?
Yes.
But if you really don't like how this is going, this is our opportunity to interview people who are running for office. So then you can vote how you choose to vote. It's just, so we don't feel how, we get to vote in.
Exactly.
And I agree with you, Cheryl, and I think the only appropriate time to vote on an issue like this is at the ballots then, but they can also change their mind.
Of course.
So I think, well, I just don't want to assure people.
Oh, I'm not trying to assure anybody, but it's our only opportunity.
Yes,
As we know, you know, anyone who gets elected can change their mind about anything.
And if I understand you, you need the forms back to the town as soon as possible, and you're looking to get as many forms and as much participation as possible.
exactly. So if we get, Rich Bienvenu, my brilliant assistant, who is a finance whiz, is telling us that in all towns that have adopted this, the first year, despite the amount of outreach, the first year they've only gotten 40% of the residents to sign up. If that happens, we're gonna need all that $200,000. So it's really important that we get your papers in as soon as possible, especially if there's a glitch that we have to work out with you, and there's 750 known glitches, okay, so, yeah. That's a lot. So, but at the very latest, by September 15th, before we're, sending out tax bills. I'm gonna go there and then there.
One last thing, I'm just thinking, I got the letter, I did paperwork, I don't think that the letter, and I'm not being critical, I don't think the letter stresses the fact that you need to do it whether you want it or not. So
Okay.
whether you can go to social media and put out, you may not like this, but it's your responsibility to fill this out, and then you can, sort it out later, but we have to have everybody's stuff back.
No, that's good. I mean, I don't think we feel like we can say that, but what we can say is if you don't fill it out, it will cost you more. And that's, yeah, that should work for most people.
If you have a trust Who do you discuss it with, in the town hall?
The town assessor, Colleen, yeah, and she'll be doing, Amy's gonna be at the library helping people with applications. They're there, every day, 8 to 4-ish. She's gonna be doing some outreach, I think, here too, so she'll be here. We'll be out there, but she's the one for those specific trust questions.
So I'll be at the library 6 to 8 PM every Thursday till September.
Dave,
you, Amy.
You mentioned that
Come on in.
there's a problem with some trusts. What is that problem?
I knew you'd ask.
You-
I can never remember. It's the same problem we have with beach stickers.
Yeah, it's that the trustees and they have to be beneficiaries, like, if you want the exemption. And you have a trust, your name living here in town has to be a beneficiary of that trust.
Why? Why?
Because legally, you can
Legally,
be a
that-
non-resident.
Right.
And so if they live here year round,
Well,
why
and
can't they get the same benefits?
Some people don't have their name in a trust.
Yeah.
They give it a name, and then there's no,
But there's a reason for that too.
well,
These, you know, this is what's hard about what we do. And it's hard to explain to people, like every week we have part-time resident taxpayers who come on before the selectmen's meeting and say, we would agree with this if it was needs-based. We would love it if this could happen. We have to follow Massachusetts general law in everything we do. So if it is a power that we have to change within the law, then we can. If not, people need to discuss it with their legislators, not with us, because we can't decide, oh, we know this person's lived here since 1950, because they'll come back and check. And if we've not followed the law, that would be extremely bad for us, so. One more.
I can change the subject.
Okay, sure.
You've gone through the capital budget.
Yep.
There's a number of things on your bulleted list that would seem to be capital expenditures, but I don't see them in the capital budget.
Okay.
How landings, low-lying roads, the community center project, and you could, if you list like those kinds of.
So I think the community center may have been in the 5-year capital. I'm not sure whether it's still there or it's been pushed off. I mean, I can check on that for you. But basically, we don't put anything in the capital that is in the operating budget or in the current capital year. So landings is in the current capital year. And we actually have a commitment from the USDA for $1.7 million to do stormwater improvements for all the landings. So what you're seeing in the capital budget is the matching funds that we need to combine with the USDA funds to make that happen. Now, so far, we're not getting an indication that those are being taken away. So we're staying the course for now.
And then low-lying roads.
Low-lying roads are not in the capital budget because we got 2 grants to study low-lying roads and we studied 4 of them and we got the prices for them and they're so cost prohibitive that we cannot do that right now. So it is not in the plan right now. Which just indicates that it's at least 4 years in the future, you know?
And, are we losing federal funding on things that we had thought we would have federal funding on with the change of administration? Are we worried about certain things?
So yeah, that's one of my topics. I think, you know, we are as nervous, as watchful as all of you are with what's happening. And there is absolutely no doubt that if there are significant federal cuts, they will represent state cuts, which then will represent local cuts. So we are, I mean, Rich and I are talking about it probably once a week now, if not more frequently. We're looking at areas where it could really hurt us, like for instance, federal educational funding going to the states. We know how Massachusetts is, and love Massachusetts, but Massachusetts is all about education, so they're not gonna cut that budget. They might push it back to us. So if our educational costs go up 10%, that's something that we would have to prepare for. So those are the kinds of wheels spinning. And I was thinking about it today. My job, as I see it, is to make the best recommendations that I can for the town with the facts and the data that I have. But Sheila Vanderhoff, who, I don't know if any of you remember Sheila, but I think it was like day 5, she said to me, you know, she always has had these little wisdoms that she passed along, and this one is just invaluable. Jackie, you have to always look at yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So, you know, every decision we make today is gonna affect the people that are here 5 years from now, and the decisions 5 years ago affect what we do now. So our job, Rich and I, are always preparing the pivot. So it's not like plan A, plan B, and plan C anymore. It's like plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E. Yeah, where is the ball gonna land? But we've thought about it just in case. And so that's where we live. And that's honestly, it's the nerve-wracking part of the job, but it's also the part that my brain really likes, his brain really likes, so that's good. It engages us, keeps us, you know, on our toes. But we're worried about education. We're worried about wastewater funding. Wastewater funding is, you know, the Nixon administration passed the Clean Water Act in the 70s that established these block grants that go for water and wastewater infrastructure. And we missed water. So when we did our water project 50 years after everybody else, we missed 0% financing. We missed all of the incentives that they gave. And it cost us minimally $30 million more to do wastewater than it would have if we had done it any time when 0% financing was up. So right now for wastewater, we have 0% financing, matching funds, a lot of things that are available right now. And the state is already saying to us, it's this year only. Next year, we don't know what's going to be there. So, you know, either do it or don't do it, but don't count on incentives in the future. So that has us, okay, so going back to the pivoting, that has Rich and I pivoting.
So
Spinning.
How do you, if you have to make a decision to do it, to take advantage of that, what does that mean for?
That means a special town meeting.
Because you literally found that out yesterday?
Yesterday at 2 o'clock.
Can't be on this one.
So, you know.
Did you find out who were eligible, or what is it that makes
Yes.
a difference?
So the difference happened when the draft, we were on the course to put wastewater on this one. And we had the funding plan ready. Then we received the draft intended use plan by the state DEP, and Eastham was below the funding line. So there were 56 projects, only 24 got funded. And we were literally like, it was like 27. We were like, you know. So there's an appeals process. So we threw ourselves into the appeals process, but, you know, we also froze moving forward with letting people know about wastewater, because what were we going to say at that point, you know? So Rich and I are very clear that we can't afford to do this without these incentives. It is unaffordable any other way. He's done the numbers every which way from Sunday, and we can't do it. So the only way we can do it is if we use all of our short-term rental money. We get the matching funds from the Cape and Islands Water Protection Fund, and we get 0% interest. If we get all 3 of those things, which they're promising now, we can do it with just a little pain as opposed to a major pain. Because this is the peak of water funding, so from next year on, the water debt is evening out and going down.
So Jackie, if I understand right, if we don't do the wastewater, it impacts all of your other plans for like town center and tea time. It's a ripple effect.
So it was really, I mean, I have to say, like, when we weren't on the intended use plan, first of all, Cape and Islands, we have, the DEP was committed to the Cape and Islands. They changed the regulations and they said everyone's gonna have to go to IA if you don't move forward with these systems. We were moving forward with the system, so we're doing all the right things, you know? So, I have to say, it was one of my worst days as town manager to get that news. I was just frozen like a deer in the headlights. So, you know, we're back on track. And we're gonna give it a college try and see what happens. I mean, it's definitely the town's decision to make. It's not something that I feel myself, the select board, are comfortable making. It's something that we have to decide together. And I'm not saying we'll never do wastewater if we don't do it this year. I'm just saying it'll cost a lot more. And, you know, I'm gonna retire here too. I don't wanna be 80 and have that big bill come. Dave,
If we don't do the wastewater treatment, at what point do all the households in those districts have to put in a new septic?
when the DEP accepted our plan, which was last December, a year ago December, that started the clock at a 5-year. We extended the 5-year to 20 years as long as we're making progress. So we have 20 years as long as we're making progress. If we do not, we vote against, this is why I didn't want to bring it to town meeting, because if we vote against it, that's not progress, right? So that would be an immediate signal to the state, you know. So it would be better to not vote on it than have a no vote, but we can't afford to not vote on it now. Tom,
You mentioned IA as a big downside. Can you explain to folks what IA is?
so innovative alternative technology, and I don't mean to make it sound like a downside. I think it's very encouraging, and the Barnstable County laboratories have a special lab just to look at IA systems and different types of IA systems, and we've been looking at this technology certainly longer than since 2008, probably. However, there isn't an IA system right now that can do the same thing as a wastewater treatment plant does. So it's very difficult because the technology just isn't good enough. Even though they're working on it, it's still not good enough. And then the systems are, I don't want to say they're fiddly. They're like, they have to be touched 4 times a year. They have to have testing. So I'll give you an example. We have a contract with the testing agency to do one of our innovative alternative systems, which is not a huge one. It's more residential side. And that contract is $2,500 a year. So you pay however many thousands of dollars for the IA system, and then you have that $2,500 a year or more to do all the testing and so they're great in some ways. I mean, if you don't have wastewater, you need to have the IA, but they don't do what the treatment plant will do. They don't have chemical and, UV rays that take bacteria out, and that, they don't. They have other systems. So they're exciting, just like permeable reactive barriers are an exciting technology, or shellfish. We're going to use all of them, but we want community solution. I mean, I think we decided when we went to town meeting and asked for $6 million for the design and engineering of this system, that we wanted to make it a community solution as opposed to an individual taxpayer solution. So that's where we're headed. And so I hope we can stay on that path, because that would exempt most of the IA systems. There might be some, if you're doing extra development or something, there might be a need for it, but that would be your choice, not your burden.
Does that wastewater system allow more cottages and houses to connect to it?
Not really. I mean, it allows, basically, we are doing this system to clean up the damage that we're already doing with all these septic systems that literally run underground into the ponds and rivers and estuaries. And, because Title V systems are not treated at all, right? So the state is giving us this money to clean up something, not to expand. But we have gotten permission to expand in one area. So our area that we've chosen is that Route 6 Commercial District, from Brackett Road up from Salt Pond up to the Wellfleet line. And obviously, for obvious reasons, we want to capture the commercial activity there because we need to, this becomes a business now. So we have to make enough money every year to support that treatment plant. So we need big users, so we want to hit that corridor, and that's also where Tea Time Town Center Plaza, it will allow us to do a little bit more density there. Not a huge amount, but a little bit more than we normally would if we had an on-site treatment there.
Can the wastewater treatment plant that you're creating for $6 million be expanded in the future?
It will be expanded. There's 2 planned phases, so one for the center of town north, and then one for southeast town along the Nauset Marsh towards and around Rock Harbor, but not beyond that, no. Not on the site, not on the place that we have. We don't have a lot of room left.
Where is it gonna be?
It's gonna be at the transfer station site, halfway between the DPW and the transfer station, in that pocket in the middle.
So to someday will we all be able to hook up?
No.
So it's only for these major areas, so the rest of us who might be a little more off the beaten track. Will we eventually have to do the advanced system?
I mean, I think if Hillary were here, and I'll bring her back when we talk about it more thoroughly, but, the Director of Health and the Environment, Hillary Greenberg Lemos. I'll bring her back, but I think what she would say to you is, this is where we have to decide, are we doing this as a community or are we doing this as individuals? Because my take on this is if people who are not getting wastewater vote to move forward with this system, 20 years from now, if they're required to do something, the town's gonna have to make that a phase, right? We're gonna have to decide to do that as well.
So there have some way to
It
help.
has to be part of the social contract, right? Either we're in it together or we're doing it individually.
I guess.
So I can't tell you whether the DEP 20, 30 years from now will say, oh, there's, 100 properties in this area that need IA systems or need something else, and we might have to partner to do that.
Thanks.
Okay, we got off the warrant pretty fast. I know, that's good. So I'm sorry, I always feel like I either start to speed talk or just wander off again. So Article 4, both of the Article 4s are financial articles. One is to, the state has now allowed us to try and make a little money with the reserves that we have lying around, as opposed to keeping them in what's like a normal savings account. So we can't do anything crazy, but we can make a little bit of an investment. And so that's where this prudent investment policy comes in. And we would like you to say yes to that. And then adopting a wastewater enterprise fund. Again, this is preparing for the time when we have to run a wastewater treatment system. And so we are setting aside money every year for that. Yeah.
How much money is that for the investment fund?
We don't put money into the prudent investment fund, but we have in reserve. I would have to add it in my head, but probably close to $10 million between the CPA money and the library trust money and the reserve funds and.
Can the town borrow against for prudent investment?
No. We're not allowed to do anything fun, Gary.
It's kind of fun.
Where am I? This looks more complicated. I think I've gone beyond. Well, going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back up. Oh, wait, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Your numbers are different than mine.
Okay, here we go. So Article 4, the acquisition of these properties. So this is a big one for us. So I'm gonna give you the deep background because I can't resist. But so the first year I was town manager was 2017. And that year, there was a family that owned 10 properties in Eastham. And they hadn't paid taxes in years. And so the treasurer at the time was a new treasurer, and she said, Jackie, do you want to go to tax title with these people? And I'm like, absolutely, we want the money. And we want it now. Like, why should they not be paying their taxes? So we did, and we got a check for $130,000, which made me feel really great until I realized that they had missed 2 properties. So they paid for 8, they didn't pay for 2. So believe it or not, I spent the next year calling them, calling their attorney, saying, you just need to pay the money. It was like $10,000, you know, they had just written this huge check. And they didn't pay the money, so then we took them to court, and then the judge gave us the properties. The catch-22 is, if we sell them, we have to give the owner the money. We only get to keep the tax money and some legal fees. And I refuse to do that. That makes no sense to me. So we've been trying to figure out a way not to take the other 2, but we can't, we have tenants, we own 2. So we own 2, we have tenants living in them. We're trying to work around these poor people, but we're collecting rents, we're, you know, doing everything we can do. But we can't fix the roof, we can't do anything with the property because we only own 2 out of 4 units. So this year, we're trying to take the other 2 units. That means we have to pay him the assessed value of those 2 units as it's appraised by our neutral appraiser. And the reason we want to do that is to clean up that mess, but also because this is the perfect location for a pump station for wastewater. So we need that gravity. You know, we need that spot to pump wastewater north. And we also have been tried 3 times to do a stormwater cleanup of Salt Pond. And that property has a culvert that runs under the road, and it's a direct, you know, stream into the pond from road runoff. So we can kill 3 birds with 1 stone at this town meeting. And so that's what we're going to suggest we do.
Where is that property?
So if you're driving from Town Hall towards Salt Pond, it's on the left-hand side, right before the pond. The second story, there are 2 buildings, 4 duplexes. Each of them are 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. They're huge.
Yeah.
And they have literally views of Salt Pond.
Yeah.
So the idea is we take them, we do the pump station, we fix the drainage, the stormwater runoff, and then we probably will be looking to give a 99-year lease to a developer to do some,
So it's.
Decent
it's
house.
headed where the lights are.
yeah, right before the lights on the,
Yeah.
if you look, you just see 1
Yeah,
duplex.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's on the left,
it's on the
it's on
left.
the same side of the pond.
No,
No.
across the street.
Oh, town hall.
Yeah, sorry.
So we would tear those housing down,
I think so.
Not in the short run, but.
Not, yeah.
but in the long run.
Yeah.
Then we would help place those other people in.
Yes.
We would be required to, right?
Yes.
I think if you displace tenants.
Well, we're required to give them notice. We're required to help them with, you know.
That's a great scam.
Well, they are
If
paying
I don't
that.
pay my taxes and I really don't care about my property, take it from me, you sell it, pay me, we're good.
Yeah, but we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna,
No, but-
I'll try not to it for the next 20 years.
Who are these people doing this, and why are they allowed to do it? I mean, I know
Because
it's the law.
they won't let government, okay, so it is to protect you as a taxpayer, the law, because basically they don't want towns to go after someone who owes $10,000 worth of taxes, take their home, and then be able to sell it and make money. They don't want us to be able to do that, and I'm sort of glad they don't. In this case, it makes no sense to
It
me. I
doesn't
agree.
make sense. I mean, to be honest, I got myself in a jam with taxes, but I work it out with the town.
Exactly,
And I'm getting back down to zero. Because I'm not avoiding it.
right.
But, how is?
And
this
that's,
some-
honestly, that's all we
How are
ask,
these
just
people
make it.
responsible citizens? They are not, they are adding to the problem we've already got in this country.
They are not responsible citizens, and you should probably know that they're not gonna get probably any of this money because there are liens on both of those properties from both the state and federal
Yeah.
IRS.
I'm sorry, I just.
No, it's okay. I'm totally frustrated with
Enough
you.
of the BS.
I mean, this has been one,
Stand up, is the right thing.
What's the 850 for?
that's for buying the two unit, the two,
The other two.
Oh, the ones that we don't.
yeah.
They have federal tax.
So that's a big, that's a special, unusual.
Yeah.
And I think Rich has figured out a way to do it without putting it on a tax levy override. We're gonna use money that we have. And there it is, it's actually two separate, condo plans. It's quite a big lot. And again, it's a shame, it could have been, it can be so much more than it is.
Is the pumping station, is that a big thing or a little thing?
No, the pumping stations are like, if you go to Orleans, there's two of them, there's one at the library and there's one on Old Colony Way, at the end of Old Colony Way on the right. It looks like a little, to me, it looks like a shed or a, CCRTA transit shelter, but it has walls. But everything's underground, so it's basically just an electrical panel and a shed
I
kind
think
of
there's
thing.
one by Stop and Shop too.
Probably,
Back in the
yeah.
parking lot.
Yeah.
There's some big pipes that come out of the ground,
Yeah,
but it's small.
they're small. Those are the easy ones, it's the treatment plant then. Okay, so where are we? Seasonal communities, transfer, yeah, seasonal communities, this is becoming, much more controversial than anyone thought it would be too. Basically, Julian Sear and Sarah Peak worked very hard to pass this legislation, which it's kind of landmark legislation in Massachusetts. It's the first time we've touched the law regarding affordable housing since the 70s. So this updates that to add things like workforce housing. So it raises the AMI that we can use public funds to do, which is helpful because, we need working class people to have homes. And it allows the municipality to give some housing preference to workers, especially emergency workers, police, fire, DPW, but some other categories as well. And we really need that, and we can't do it right now because it violates the Fair Housing Act. So they've allowed, if we accept the seasonal communities designation, they've carved out these little things that we get to do, and that's one of them. The big one that there's two that people are concerned about, the tiny homes provision, which means that basically the town will have to come back to the state. So we'll have to come back at another town meeting and have the town decide, where do you want the tiny homes to be? What do you want them to look like? What kind of zoning are we gonna have? Where do the tiny homes fit in? We have to have a place where they can be built, somewhere in town. People are nervous that it includes things with wheels, but Eastham has never allowed anyone to live in anything that's temporary. We don't allow temporary housing or temporary shelter. I think it's in the state building code that we're not allowed to do that, but they're disagreeing with me. But definitely, we're not gonna allow mobile homes. It's not a mobile home park. It's definitely an, it's the new version of a cottage colony. It's just tiny homes.
Year round.
They have to be year-round tiny homes. Yep.
Do you support that?
Do I support it? Yeah, because I think, we used to have, I've lived on the Cape my whole life. We used to have little cottages. We used to have little apartments. We used to have basement apartments. We used to have garage apartments. We used to have all kinds of different types of housing. As houses, residential homes get larger and larger, we have less of all of those smaller things. So is there a single person who wouldn't love to live in a little tiny home that's theirs and they don't have to share with 19 roommates? I would have loved that in my 20s. So I think they're a good idea. I think, we have to worry about septic, so it would be probably a package treatment plant, like, any of the other density developments that we have.
So they're clustered together. It isn't that I might own a small piece of land and I could build it.
I think what we get to decide as a town, as I understand it, is do we want to use them as like accessory dwelling units? Or do we want to have them be like cottage colonies?
Oh, I'm saying, does it have to be either or?
No.
How tiny was tiny?
How tiny is tiny? It's below 400?
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's a one-person deal, really. But considering our, average house size, our family size is like 2.1. And then the most controversial thing is that it allows towns to raise the percentage of the residential tax exemption from a maximum of 35% to 50%. That is the thing that's, obviously the part-time residents are very, very nervous about. We don't have to do any of these things, but we can do them if we accept the seasonal communities.
We have to do the tiny home bylaw, and we have to do a bylaw to utilize undersized lots.
Yes,
Which we already decided those are through zoning, so we have to go to town meeting and get through that one.
and
Those
they
are
have
the
to
only
meet
things-
our septic.
Right. Just like with ADUs,
What's the difference between a tiny home and auxiliary housing?
they're smaller.
Yeah, they're just a little smaller.
Check.
Yeah.
Are you proposing those be allowed only in a certain zone or also?
We haven't talked about it. We haven't talked about it yet. So we're waiting to see if the town adopts this, which I'm hoping we do, because even though people have said, well, we have questions we have to work out. The state, when we put something into a state law, literally, it's an act of Congress or an act of the legislature to change it. And so what the Housing and Community Development, what is that
I don't
name of
know,
it?
I have to remember.
The new agency that's responsible for this in the state.
Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities.
Thank you. What they decided to do was to create the seasonal communities designation and then allow the communities to put together a committee that would work on final regulations. So this committee has people like Julian Sear, Kevin Galligan, a select person from Orleans, Elisa Magnotta from the Housing Assistance Corporation, Hadley Bloody, our other representative. Fine people who are trying to give us more options within the law. The law has already passed. It's done, it's passed. So we're just working on some final regulations. And if the town wants to defer this, that's fine. But we're not eligible for any of the special incentives until after we accept.
One of the things you'll be looking at is density probably, right? Per acre.
No,
No.
you can't change Title V density.
The reason I brought that up is because I was interested in this subject, because in Wellesley, they have a law that says you can actually build a cottage colony. You can build up to 10 units on acre, but the Title V kicks in where it's only 4 units per acre.
Right.
I'm just curious if these can.
That would all have to be flushed out in the zoning.
And
So this is the first step.
it is, but especially with moving forward with wastewater, again, we're looking at development or density in certain areas, not everywhere. So if you want to put in an ADU, then you have to have a septic system that can, sustain that ADU. That is not going to change even when we have a wastewater system. So you're going to be assigned a certain amount of flow, even if you're hooked up to the wastewater system. Okay.
While she's looking at the next thing, I'm just gonna say one more thing about seasonal communities, the law. Usually, when Massachusetts historically has created these sorts of laws, they're one size fits all, and we usually don't fit. So the fact that they left a lot of this to be decided by the towns and give the towns input is huge. We've never had anything like this. It's like a huge home rule petition that passed.
It is.
And now we get to tailor it to our community, which usually we don't get to do.
And they're absolutely mystified why we're not just saying, yes, yes,
Well,
thank
it's-
you.
It's really the the non-residents are very upset about the 50% RTE, which I get, they don't wanna see that, and I'm not gonna make any promises, but I can't imagine too many towns are gonna go.
And the truth is, no current seated board can make promises for the next board, so it's a year-to-year decision. All right, so transfer tax? Nope. Am I going in the right direction now?
Yep.
Yeah. So this one is, when the housing bill was passed by the legislature last year and signed into law by the governor, there was a provision that allowed, so except for property taxes, the state is the only one who can tax you, right? Towns can't tax you. I know it feels like we can, but we can't. The only way we can is if they give us special permission to. And so what we were asking for was a real estate transfer fee, so that if we have properties that are over a certain amount in value, if someone sells their property for $2 million, for instance, that we could add a fee to that that would go specifically towards housing programs and housing development. That bill was, that piece of the bill was taken out of the final legislation. So what we're trying to do now is a piece of special legislation that will sort of alert the legislature that we're still interested in this. This won't, the state would have to still pass it separately, but we're basically saying, we're still interested in this transfer fee. We need a recurring revenue stream just for housing. We can't afford to do this unless we have some other external recurring revenue stream. So that's what we're trying to do with this.
One question about that?
Yeah.
I'm just confused. It says that the fee shall be the liability of the purchaser, and any agreement between the purchaser and seller, blah, 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 for bearing said fee shall not affect the liability of the seller. So is it the purchaser or the seller?
I think most people are going to pass this fee on to the person who purchases the real estate.
But you don't have to.
Well, not in this, because this isn't the real law. This is just what we're proposing.
It seems kind of contradictory in that sense.
And I think we had a hard, long discussion about, is this going to be on all real estate or just on high-end real estate? And so they ended up on the high-end real estate. But it's a significant amount of money. It's probably $250,000 a year at least. So the next one is the one that we've been working on the longest. Did I pass it? Oh my God, I wish I could see it. There it is. So basically, this is hopefully one of our final major zoning pieces, which is the form-based code. The zoning task force has been working on this for 2 years. We planned it, well, we talked about it, I wanna say 6 years ago, so it's taken a long time because there are many, many implications to it, so every time they said, well, we'll allow this, then they'd have to think about what are the implications of that and how is it gonna fit in with the rest of it. I don't wanna spend too much time on this, we've had a couple of public presentations at the library on it. It allows density in the commercial zone right off of Route 6. And it allows going up to 3 stories. It's looking at a traditional New England village architecture. So if you look at Orleans or Wellfleet, where you have a retail store and then housing over it, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a more traditional New England village style. We're looking to get rid of the strip mall look. And I know, you know,
Don't be discouraged about the height thing, because that only, called a height bonus. And it really only kicks in if that extra height is year-round housing. So they have to put it, to get that height, they have to put in year-round housing.
Yeah.
Year-round apartment up there, whatever.
and this is very thoughtfully crafted. I have to say, you know, Eastham is the only town that I know of that has a zoning task force that is a group of people. Honestly, I give them so much credit because this stuff is, I mean, it's boring, it's tedious. It has a million different tentacles to it, and they have just tackled it one piece at a time for years now, and they keep at it. So, really, we certainly trust this and are really excited about it. It's long, long overdue. If we had had it, we would have been able to shape the look of things in the commercial district a lot sooner. Fourth. So.
Jackie, can you put that close thing on the right corner? Is that a copy on the thing?
Oh, this guy? It's really hard.
I think you can just go to the other tab.
Tab, what is top?
Yeah, on the top tab, it's on tab.
Oh.
No, close out the other one. Have to close out the one that says inside Mojo.
Oh, my God. It's hard to talk and do that at the same time, especially if the line is in the back. Okay, then we go to the CPA articles. Which, am I there? Oh, zoning takes forever.
A lot of pages.
And we didn't print it all either.
It has in the past.
I'm getting there. So the first two are the normal. This is how much we have. They are asking to set aside more of a percentage for housing this year. But mostly, you know, elementary school playground, quiet park kiosks, property surveys for historic, an open space land purchase. So we've got all the categories this year. The big one that I think will interest you guys the most is the 580 Massasoit, so the thrift shop property. So the thrift shop property, we purchased with historic money for CPA. Then we asked to do an external upgrade so that we could protect the envelope of the building. We got those funds aside. And then last year, and then found out that we can't use the housing units unless we do a sprinkler system and some other things. So this article is coming back saying we want to create 2 units of housing above the thrift store. And I know people are concerned about the thrift store, but we do have, a big unit at Town Center Plaza, it's 2,500 square feet, flat, beautiful. Now has heat, air conditioning, and new flooring. And so it's ready whenever we start on the thrift shop renovations. The thrift shop can move temporarily to Town Center Plaza and then move back when the renovations are done or do whatever they want to do. But we have a loose plan.
It was where the bike shop was.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, big, open space.
Lots of parking.
Lots of parking, very flat. I think it's.
They need to go to work break for lunch.
And on
Ice cream, I know. So, but that's a big one because it's controversial, because it's a lot of money. So we're spending a lot of money on a piece of property that's a tiny little postage stamp of a piece of property. But if you look at it this way, I think Paul Ladd, my community development director, explained it really well to the community preservation committee when he said, you know, look, the town wanted to rescue this property. We rescued it because it was a historic structure. We didn't really know what we were gonna do with it other than keep it as a thrift store at the time, but we wanted to preserve the historic building because it's very quaint and we're losing those. Every year, we're losing more of those buildings. They give our town some character. And, so we knew we wanted to rescue the building, and we also wanted to rescue the use of that building because it is the longest existing retail store on Cape Cod. So it is something to save. So we voted to save it, and now we've got to figure out how to fix it up so that we can use it at its best and highest use. And I think that is 2 units of housing and thrift store underneath it. And it is a tiny lot with a tiny septic system, so that's the barrier to making it bigger. We're not trying to make it bigger, we're just trying to fix it up, and it is gonna cost a lot of money because everything costs a ridiculous amount of money now, especially building. So that's where we are, kind of in it, and the only way through is through. Dave.
Part of the reason why it's 850,000 that you're looking for is because it is historic, and under that situation, certain things have to be done
Yes.
with the historic code, and that's just more expensive.
Like, for instance, we can't change the front exterior, we're gonna have to custom cover those windows. We're gonna have to figure out a way to save those windows. The glass that's used in those windows isn't made anymore. So it's very interesting, but it is something that I think, personally, I think it's worth saving, but I think the town already said it's worth saving. So now we're kind of into it. And do we just leave it as the thrift shop or do we do more with it? That's the question.
And the structure of the building is strong enough to support?
Yes. It's structurally quite sound. It does need some supports in a couple of areas that it doesn't have support in that aren't current building code. So, you know, when you touch a building like that, the expense is, it has to be brought up to the current building code. And one of the issues is that if you have a retail space with housing over it, you have to have a fire suppression system that's sprinkler. So that's a huge expense. And I don't think there's anything else on the warrant. Oh, the petition article 9A. When you get your warrant, you will see that I wrote literally what I call a missive. I don't know what happened. I just kept writing and writing. So I hope some of you will read it because they threw out, I felt like it was sort of this huge throwing out of a lot of information that wasn't, some of it wasn't accurate, some of it was opinion, some of it, you know, I was just plain wrong. So I needed to address those things. And so that's what I did in the town summary. But that's that. That's how we got here. I basically went through the summary of how we got here. And then in the back of the warrant, we're gonna have an update on the strategic plan like we do every year, to give you a sense of projects that we're making progress with. And that's the warrant. Let's see, I'm gonna go back over my list. Does anybody have just any general questions or anything that I haven't talked about?
Can you talk about the community center project?
Oh, yeah. So the handout that's colored, it's blue and yellow. Yes, goes through our master plan update. And basically it has I don't have that, I'm sorry for the people on Zoom, I don't have that, to put up on the screen, but basically there is a timeline in the back of them that goes through what's gonna happen in what sequence. And when we started on this process of looking through Town Center Plaza, Tea Time, how do they interact? How can we get them connected? What can we do with those properties? We always assumed that we wanted to do the commercial and retail, the commercial and housing pieces first, because we kind of have to develop that. Before that, we have to have infrastructure. So the wastewater vote is pretty important. If we move forward with wastewater, then we can move forward with creating the road that will connect the parcels, because it's engineered now. There is a plan, we can do it. And also to put out an RFP for redevelopment of some of those parcels that we have. So we want to do that first, then build the community center, then move from the COA to the community center, then use this parcel for some more housing, perhaps for seniors, like a smaller cottage style development.
Tiny homes?
Well, I don't know.
No, I just.
Yeah, could
We
be
could have a fun time.
tiny cottages maybe, I don't know. The drawing is like 8 to 10 cottages, in a development, I think, so far, but that's not final. So it's on the plan for,
But Jackie, they ran out of copies. of the
I'm so
plans.
sorry, I
They
can
work
get
at
more.
town hall, that's what-
yeah, I can get you guys more.
Okay.
And I do these every 3 months, but I updated it for this topic. I did one for the board in February. But I'll get you those copies, but I think it was 2035.
No.
When that piece will be done. So I think we won't have, even if you vote yes on wastewater. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. Even if you vote yes on wastewater, we will take 3 years to build that. So that's the
It's
key.
like water, once we pass water, it's still to the.
Yeah.
Put a shovel in the ground.
And these things go slow, especially, as I say often, when you use other people's money, and we don't want to use our money. We want to use other people's money, and that is a much slower process.
I just have one irrelevant question.
It's not irrelevant.
What are all these white yellow lines with numbers on our streets for?
Oh, okay, that's for wastewater.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that, but you
Yeah.
said it wasn't coming down.
Well, where do you live?
On the schoolhouse road.
Yeah.
It's got a way.
We're in the wastewater system, you and I.
Oh, okay, so it is coming off the highway.
It is,
That's because we're in the zone.
that's right, you're in the zone.
What zone is that looking at there? What zone?
So pretty much if you were in the mandatory hookup area for the public water system, then you're gonna be in the sewer system,
Will they tie it in eventually?
yes.
So the same people who got the free water hookup?
Now you come all the way to Knoxville.
Oh, we're not talking about giving you a free sewer.
No, not me, but
Yeah,
like all the houses around here,
Yeah.
we're in the water plan.
yeah, it won't come as far as Nauset Road, like, we added some pieces to water, just because we were looking for the plume of 1,4-dioxane, and there was no plume. It's a circular thing, and it moves this way, and it moves down into Salt Pond from that landfill area. And so that's the issue. So we have to capture the whole landfill area around Salt Pond, you know, a little bit south, and then the north. Yes.
Jackie, I have a beef, and, I think we've talked about it before, and just as a prelude to it, me being a Washer Shore with history, but my grandfather years ago, Colby Callick, was a selectman in town for many, many years. And back in the day, if I recall, this is going back into the sixties probably, if I remember as a kid, there seemed to be a plan that the Mid-Cape was going to go the full length of the Cape to P-Town. And back in those days, he jumped up and down and hollered, because as some of us probably remember, the railroad bed, which was still a railroad, there was nothing back there.
Right.
And the land was like, give it away type of stuff. And that's what his idea was, put the road there. But they told Colby, you're crazy, blah, blah, blah. But in my mind, what it seems to be now is on the lower Cape, we are the only town that Route 6 goes right through the middle.
You're right, and that,
So everything, Wellfleet, Truro, everything has that nice homey feel somewhere else.
yeah,
But my beef is this, and I think we've talked about this before, from the Rotary up to Wellfleet. To be honest with you, and it's not the town, it's the state, because it's a state road. Which, again, our fire department, our police department are doing double duty because they're taking care of state property as well.
it's a 50-year-old road.
What's that?
It's a 50-year-old road.
Yeah, well, and anyway, I mean, personally, I've seen better looking rural roads in Mexico.
Yeah.
And every year, I mean, I personally live on 6, so I try to take care of the sidewalk and things like that. If you go from the Rotary up to the drive-in, you know, hey, I have no beef with people, how they keep their property. That's the American way. It's up to you, you know. Some people have a little pride, they're okay, whatever. But the state doesn't, I mean, they swept the other day, I see the sweepers at the Rotary this morning. But guaranteed by the middle of the summer, it's gonna look like a jungle out there.
Yeah, they only come once a year. We fight with them every year.
Yeah, well, what can we do to get their attention, because
Well, I think what we're going to do, one of the projects that is moving forward is Route 6. Because for some reason, the DOT likes our plan. They like the plan that we submitted. And they're saying, we want to help you pay for it, which is a miracle. It's just a miracle, because they don't pay for anything, even on their own road.
don't make them mad.
I know, no, we're tight, right now, we're so tight. And so they're offering to pay for the survey, so we're moving ahead with that plan, and it would fix Route 6 for the first, I mean, it's 6 miles, 6.5 miles of roadway. We're not gonna be able to do all of it, but we're gonna try and improve from the windmill area all the way through to the Wellfleet line, that piece. To come up with a plan that allows you to actually walk safely and maybe ride a bike and have some. Yeah, take some left turns, and most importantly, the thing that people don't want, but that we have to do is slow the traffic down, just slow it down and have it be a steady motion as opposed to, that means automatic right turns as opposed to waiting at the light. It drives me crazy here, like waiting at that Brackett Road light, and it's like 20 minutes go by and the line changes and you want to cut through the Ben and Jerry's parking lot. Anyway,
And that includes, on the left-hand side going down Cape, old gas station that sits there and it looks like.
Yeah, I know.
That looks like,
You also
when I
need,
was in New York City, that's what looks like the drawings
I know.
from the '70s.
you also need to know that the DOT is fixing the Eastham Orleans rotary. Now, they came to us, I don't know, like 5 years ago, Amy, and they said, we're going to reline it. And we're like, okay, really? That's it? You're gonna reline it, which would help because it might help some crashes, but now they've hired, since they discovered that it was kind of built on a river and, you know, it wants to connect to the Nauset Marsh and
York Canal.
there's some serious stuff going on underneath that
Yeah.
rotary. They hired several engineering firms and now they're doing a whole redo and we just got 5 different iterations of what they might do there. So that's gonna be important to note because that is gonna have to tie into, which is exactly why I think they wanna help us with the surveying. So it'll tie nicely into
It
it.
just irks me sometimes to see like Chatham and places like that now, I might, you know, the funding, I don't know where it comes from, but beautiful brick sidewalks being put in and, shoulders on the road.
You know, I think when I came here as the assistant and town manager, that's what I heard all the time.
Yeah.
The traffic, Route 6, it's awful. We need to do something about Route 6. We don't have a center of town. We don't have a main street. And so we're trying to tackle those things. And, I remember talking to the board about this and it's like, do you think we can do this? Well, I don't know. The worst that can happen is that we fail. But if we don't try, we'll never get there. And I think this, like, for instance, the redevelopment of that commercial district, that's gonna take a long time. It's gonna take the private businesses time to figure out what they can and can't do and start to adjust. But if we can get the road in there, if we can get the septic connected, then that will free the private businesses and private property owners to be able to develop their property in new and different ways. So that's what we're trying to do with these zoning changes most of all.
I just think,
Route 6 is
the other,
very important. We have to try to.
don't get the feds involved, but if you took the feds, Eastham is the gateway to the lower Cape, the National Seashore Park, right? Where, when people off Cape and tourists come in there, upper Cape, but the lower Cape, they want to see this is the town that leads the way into all of that.
Well, I think we're gonna open up some areas where people that have not been able to develop their property will be able to develop their property. And so I think that's gonna be the crux. I mean, if the garage still stays that way, even after the zoning changes and they can do other things with it.
Get rid of that.
No, the only thing we can do is like, we can do the X so that no firemen go into it, but we can't, we can't do anything other than call it a condemned building, which we already have.
It's nice and
But I
south.
mean, as far as the look of it, it's just.
No, we don't, Eastham does not have any bylaw that talks about how your property looks. Or, I know,
Even on the main road.
it's frustrating on both sides. Some people love that because it's freedom and some people hate it. I'm kind of in the middle. It would be nice to have some guardrails.
So they're paying taxes on that place?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Anyone, yeah,
The discussion makes me think about something under, 15 years. What, is there any consideration in doing something more productive with the parcel of land? Because next to town hall parking lot, the ocean community down there,
Yeah.
that was totally wrong. What you have there was reversible clearly. Is anything ever gonna happen there?
I don't know.
Talk to the owner, I mean, we don't own it.
Yeah, it's too bad we don't
We
know.
went bankrupt, previous owner went bankrupt in the middle.
That was a huge opportunity.
So you got a piece of property that big, you got 2 units on it.
Yeah.
He keeps it afloat, we got one piece of property, with
Well,
2 little condos on it.
Under our new bylaws, we could, not this one, but the one we've already passed, where you can do increased density of housing. There might be a way to do that under that, but it would still cost a lot of money to redevelop. And I think that's what people are running into now, the price of redevelopment is.
Yeah, really honestly, what happened there was the first one was bankrupt, that was developing and then someone that owns down at the end of the road purchased it. So that nothing goes. I believe, that's what I remember.
They bought the property so that they could keep it not developed under.
The town didn't have the wisdom at the time, when they sold the hotel property, the hotel owner.
The town had the opportunity to buy that property and did not.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's pissing me off.
Yeah, I mean, it's, there are always reasons, I wasn't here, so I don't know the reason for that, I know that I've missed other opportunities too, and I've been criticized for buying, tea time and Adams Plaza, so it's like, you can do any piece of it. We don't have unlimited resources, so we kind of do have to pick and choose, just like we do in our own lives and our own budgets, and so things come up, and sometimes they're priceless, and we have to think about them. There are some big parcels, big woodland parcels right on the bay, that eventually may come up, and with the town does have right of first refusal for those. But we have very few of those big parcels out. Dave.
What's gonna happen with the beach plum property?
So the beach plum, the house is currently rented, and it's a workforce housing rental. And we have final design for 4 units of housing in the back, not in the motel style, but they're like 2 cottages kind of connected. It's a really interesting design. However, the price that we got for developing that is huge. So I'm kind of waiting for the Seasonal Communities Act and money to see if we can get any state money for the small 4-unit development, because we can't afford to do it ourselves. So it has the septic, it's ready to go. Thank you. Thank you. If anyone has any more questions, I'll probably be coming back to talk about wastewater.
I think I'm all set. 2 more.
They're gonna be mailed. That's what they are. No, pine tree.
But people are finally voted, they don't want to do that because their houses are built somewhere.
I know.
And because they're all down. So that was very.
Right, it's so first of all,
I just make an appointment with you because I knew I'm not gonna say so you're gonna be able to think how much you must walk. So I will try to get together with you. You're not a virgin.
That's all.